Toyota has reported a 39% drop in profits during its last quarter. The company is blaming a sales slump and a strong yen for the fall. But the world's biggest automaker has lifted its forecasted annual operating profit because of strong sales in its first 9 months. Last month, Toyota recalled nearly 1.7 million vehicles worldwide over concerns about a fuel tank leak. Southern Sudan is waking up to the prospect of becoming the world's newest nation. Official results confirmed almost 99% of voters in favor of splitting from the north. Independence will come into effect in July, but as Harun Mutasa reports from Juba, concerns remain about the future.
Euphoria as people get confirmation that Southern Sudan will become the world's newest nation. Many have waited years for independence. As expected, the number of those who voted for secession was overwhelming.
Those who voted for secession, 98.83% of the total valid votes.
President Omar al-Bashir accepted the final results, allaying fears of some he would not let the South go peacefully.
We accept the results and we will not question them. Absolutely. We respect the Southerners' rights to choose what they want.
And people here seem confident officials in Southern Sudan will take the new country in the right direction.
They have the abilities and the capacity to lead the country to developing and also to a better future.
Monday's announcement has given Southern Sudan international recognition. Organizations like the African Union, the Arab League and the European Union have given their support to the South and promised to develop the new country. But expectations here are high and building a new nation will not be easy. A lot of work needs to be concluded before Independence Day on the 9th of July. Issues including the disputed border region of IBA, citizenship, border demarcation and oil sharing are some of the challenges. As Southerners here celebrate the birth of a new nation, resolving outstanding issues will determine how peaceful the transition to independence will be. Harun Mutasa, Al Jazeera, Juba, Southern Sudan.
WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange is facing the second day of an extradition hearing in the UK. He's wanted for questioning in Sweden over accusations of sexual assault. His defense lawyer says he could face the death penalty if sent to the US on separate charges relating to the whistleblowing website. Pakistan is faced with an acute energy crisis that is threatening to bring industrial production to a grinding halt. But in a town famous for finished steel products like knives and swords, the challenge is also about saving age-old manufacturing traditions. Kamal Haider reports from Wazirabad.
Everyone is doing only one thing, and that is making knives. From the grinding to the polishing, it's a tedious affair. If you wanted to make your own brand of sharp blades, Wazirabad would be a good bet. You will find everything from swords used in The Lord of the Rings to imitation helmets once worn by ancient warriors. The locals say even Alexander the Great came to repair his swords in this ancient town. Whether that be the fact or not, these people show they can still make just about anything. To drown out the noise of monotonous machines, an Indian video offers inspiration, much like music in a gym. For hundreds of years, the people of Wazirabad have been making knives, swords, and even cutlery. Despite the fact that they don't have much incentive, they still want to continue with an age-old tradition. Wazirabad's small and medium-sized industry is experiencing a rise in unemployment as people are forced out of work amidst closure of small factories.
25 to 30,000 people were employed in this sector, and right now I can see many businesses are closed, and the reason is the high price of material and the lack of electricity. And
for decades, this town has been insulated from the ups and downs of the economy. It has been earning up to $60 million a year from exports, and local heirs say they could boost that to $100 million, if only They had enough power. Kamal Haider, Al Jazeera, Wazirabad.
This is Al Jazeera, and these are the stories making the headlines now. Protesters in Egypt are gearing up for another day of mass demonstrations 2 weeks into their campaign. Pro-democracy campaigners are still calling for the resignation of President Hosni Mubarak. The government has tried to appease demonstrators by offering a public sector pay rise. A Google executive has been released after being detained during anti-government protests. Wael Ghanem is the activist behind the Facebook page that's being credited with starting the uprising. Well, this video uploaded onto YouTube claims to show his capture on January the 28th. Ghanem spoke to an Egyptian television channel shortly after his release.
First of all, I send my condolences to all the people who were killed. It was a peaceful revolution. We didn't want to do any damage. Don't focus your cameras on me. I'm not a hero. The real heroes are the youth who are behind this revolution. By God's will, we're going to clean this country of this rubbish.
Well, the former Liberian president, Charles Taylor, will hear the prosecution's closing arguments at the UN-backed Special Court for Sierra Leone on Tuesday. Taylor faces 11 charges of war crimes and crimes against humanity. Prosecutors at The Hague say Taylor used terror tactics to secure control of diamond mines in Sierra Leone, but he denies all the charges, including using child soldiers in wars which killed 250,000 people in West Africa. Southern Sudan has voted overwhelmingly to break away from the north. Election officials have confirmed 99% of voters back secession. Africa's newest nation will be officially confirmed in July. A Chechen separatist leader is claiming responsibility for the suicide bombing which killed 36 people at Moscow's main airport last month. In a video posted on an Islamist website, Dr. Umarov described the attack as a special operation directed against Russians and their prime minister. Officials from North and South Korea have come together for the first dialogue between the two countries since September. The meeting will lay the groundwork for high-level dialogue, possibly between ministers. Well, tensions remain high between Thai and Cambodian troops along their disputed border. Firing has stopped, but the soldiers are bracing for more clashes. Both countries lay claim to the area. Fighting over the past 4 days has forced residents on both sides to evacuate the region. Well, those are the headlines. The news continues here in Al Jazeera after Riz Khan.
Hello and welcome. I'm Imran Gabda, sitting in for Riz Khan. Are the winds of change blowing over the Arab world and spurred by the popular protests in Egypt? Since January the 25th, millions have taken to the streets demanding the resignation of President Hosni Mubarak, who has ruled the country for 30 years. At least 300 people have been killed, but protesters remain undeterred, calling for democracy, media freedom and an end to corruption. Now, massive demonstrations in Egypt have triggered rumblings of discontent across other Arab nations as well. And in the face of growing anger in Yemen, President Ali Abdullah Saleh agreed not to run for another term and said his son Ahmed would no longer succeed him. Algerian President Abdelaziz Bouteflika announced he would end a state of emergency after 19 years and called for the broadcast media to provide fair coverage of legalized national organizations. King Abdullah of Jordan dismissed his prime minister and cabinet and urged the new premier to initiate speedy political reforms. And in Syria, President Bashar al-Assad has promised to hold municipal elections and loosen state control over media. So today we ask, could the protests in Egypt generate momentum for reform across the Arab world? And just remember, you can call in with your questions and comments, and you can send us an email or even a text message on the show. Well, joining us now on the show from Singapore is Dr. Saaduddin Talib, a former member of Yemen's former Anti-Corruption Commission and now a critic of President Saleh. Syrian human rights and anti-censorship activist Anas Qatish is with us from Boston. And with him is writer and blogger Khalid Loom. Welcome, all of you, to the show, gentlemen. Khalid Loom, if I could start with you. These subsidies and benefits and vaguely defined and sometimes unspecified promises of political change from these leaders, have these allowed the leaders to